right, well, welcome back to another episode of How Are You Now? This is Dean, and that is
Tiara.
And we have with us today our very good friend, Brian McLaughlin from the Common Ground Football Podcast, as well as the No Subject Podcast. He is sports dude extraordinaire. Sports. How are you, Brian?
You did that so wrong. If it's a Letterkenny podcast, I think you should do that correctly.
Should I?
Yeah.
How are you now, Brian?
Good. And you?
Not so bad.
There you go.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the way that he started everything because he does not start with the welcome back usually. And I'm like, okay.
Well,
You threw me off.
Changing things up. It's
okay.
I'm not used to change.
We're still new here. We're schmeltsies.
Oh, yes, we are. We are schmeltsies.
Come on, Schmeltz. What do you think of that, Schmeltz? Just kidding. We don't give a fuck. All right. So Brian, tell us a bit about yourself, what you do, give us your plugs and all that other stuff, and then we will kind of get into the Letterkennying.
I get to do plugs early.
Yeah,
wow.
Get them out of the way.
Get them out of the way and done.
That's right.
I am in the podcast world, I host the two shows you mentioned, the Common Ground Football Podcast. I do that one with my buddy Andrew, and then Andrew and his lovely wife, who you've already had on this podcast. We all do the No Subject Podcast. And those two podcasts could not be any more different from each other. And
except for the two guys that are on them.
Except for the two, yeah. I mean, there's that's the only similarity, because other than that,
they're both awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. That dang sound effect.
But this week for you is a bummer.
Yeah, this week was not a good week, that's for sure. But
God.
I might even make Andrew record by himself. I have no idea. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. I'm still angry.
For those of you who don't know yet, Brian is a Seahawks fan.
Big Seahawks fan.
And my wife is a Seahawks fan because she was born here.
I was.
Oh. I am a Seahawks fan by marriage. No, you know what? Here's the thing.
As long as they're not playing the Cowboys. Hey,
right.
I've had 12 years of this.
Yeah.
I can honestly say, as long as it's not against the Cowboys, he will cheer for Seahawks.
Damn right.
Absolutely.
Damn right.
Oh, okay.
And
That's fair.
And same thing with the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually kind of a good year for me for football, and that the Cowboys, Seahawks, and Saints all made it in. So I have a pretty good chance of being happy with the outcome.
Yeah.
So, what would happen if the Cowboys were playing the Saints this weekend?
I'm gonna root for the Cowboys. Cowboys are my number one.
Yeah.
I am in a hierarchical, polyteamorous love affair.
Jesus Christ.
I have decided that I am now an Eagles fan, and that is mainly just to irritate the crap out of Andrew.
Oh, no,
and it's going to be so much fun. So as long as the Eagles are still in the playoffs, that's my team.
I will drop an Alabama hot pocket.
Oh my God! No. Any team that hired that one. Sorry.
Yeah. No, there's no love for any team who has hired a dog-fighting guy.
Yes.
Well, he's no longer on that team.
Doesn't matter. They gave him money.
And maybe they didn't know that he was a dog
after
fighter.
conviction. It was after he got out of prison. Now stop it now.
I don't like the Eagles, but I need to irritate my co-host.
Hard
and
no.
and I'm going to do that, and it'll just for the pure joy of it, and it'll make a really good podcast episode, I think. So that's what I'm going to do. But so that's I aspire to be a sports talk radio host one day, and until then, and maybe it'll never happen, and that's fine, because podcasting is a blast, and that's what I'm having fun with right now. And I'm proud, honored, in fact, to be a guest on this one, because what a great show Letterkenny is.
It is. It's an awesome show. I think it was cool because there's not a lot of podcasts about Letterkenny, and I think with Hulu releasing all 6 seasons. And our love for it that we found after just 2 seasons, really. Striking while that iron was hot, I think was ideal. And we've got a lot of good people who really love the show in our circle. So I'm happy to have you on.
It'll take just getting one of those, one of the cast members on as a guest.
Oh,
and you'll take off from there. You just need one of them.
I'm looking for.
Who are we followed by?
We're followed by. Well, I don't know if Tyler Johnston follows us or not, but he likes a lot of our stuff.
True. He probably follows the hashtag.
Yeah, Joel Gagne, who plays Joint Boy, does follow us, and I'd love to have him on. We will not talk politics. I've noticed. So, but that's okay.
Texas size 10-4 on that one.
We could talk. We'll talk sports and probably some MMA stuff. But we're not going to talk politics. That's okay. And this is not a political show. So
sure not. Nope. Hard no.
Hard no. We're gonna.
Give your balls a tug, you tit fucker.
All right,
All right then.
Fantastic.
You have too much fun with that.
I do. I love my soundboard. So Brian, just before we get started, what made you start watching Letterkenny and stick with it?
I work for my full-time job that actually pays me, because podcasting doesn't do that.
What?
I know, unless you're famous. It
you
just
don't say.
No, it's weird. But in my full-time job, I sell food to restaurants, and I'm just a foodie in general. And I have a coworker who he and I like to joke about steaks and whatnot, and he stumbled across the short little version of the Letterkenny talking about how to cook a steak.
Yep.
And he sent me that, and I about peed myself and couldn't understand. I'm like, all right, what is this? And I thought it was just a little sketch. And I probably watched it, I don't know, 25, 30 times, still laughing, and then sending it to other coworkers. And we all had a good laugh out of it. And then I think I saw the YouTube link. And so I ended up on YouTube,
right,
and found their original stuff and went, oh, holy crap, this is an actual like thing. That wasn't just like a little sketch. This is like a thing. And so I watched all their original YouTube stuff, which I thought was hilarious. And then I went searching. I didn't even know it was on Hulu. I went searching to figure out a way that I could get Crave TV. I'm like, okay,
yep.
we got to be able to get this in the States. Why aren't we cool enough? And sure enough, couldn't find it, couldn't get it. And then somebody told me, well, you can watch that on the first 2 seasons are on Hulu. And I think I spent, I don't know, a couple days locked up in a room. Oh, it was actually when I had a really bad, nasty flu bug, and I was trying to stay away from the wife because we were expecting our second child.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I locked myself in a room with my iPad, and I just binge watched all of it.
Nice.
and fell in love. And then pissed off after season 2 ended, going, how am I supposed to watch the rest of this?
Right.
So
there are ways.
I'm not gonna deny that or confirm that.
We don't endorse anything, however,
or whoever you got it from when we remain nameless.
I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I just love it. It's I don't know if it's because it's Canadian or what it is, but it's so different from what we have, what we're watching now here in the United States, and just their way about comedy is so unique with and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, in this episode. Yeah,
I think it's a good mix of British and good American comedy.
Yeah, and it's just, it's unique and different the way they're able to. Obviously we're not watching it filmed, so who knows how many takes it actually takes them to do it. But as quick as it is, the back and forth, it's nuts. And then how much of that is improv versus actually scripted, and they just it's just so different. And it's you have to appreciate dry humor so much, because if you don't, you won't get it. I actually was rewatching this episode that we're going to talk about as we were watching it again last night. My wife, who has not seen any of this, she's sitting there with me, and I'm laughing, and I look over at her, and she has this look on her face of what in the hell are we watching?
Who the fuck am I married to?
Yeah, and she's like, you actually find this funny? And I went, yeah, but you have to watch it. Like, you can't just jump in episode 4. Like,
no,
you gotta start at the beginning or watch some of the YouTube stuff. Otherwise, you won't get it. And she's like, you're right. I don't get it. Okay, well, yeah. I think it's hilarious.
Right. As do most people that
people that actually watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it we talked about Chelsea about, it kind of spans all age ranges.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen, early 20s up to me and Don, who are in our 50s. I'm sure there are people older than us that like it as well. So yeah, it really crosses lots of boundaries. And challenges some boundaries.
It challenges. Yes, it does.
It definitely does.
Yeah. I had to make sure that the sounds on the soundboard, because a lot of stuff taken out of context would not be interesting to a lot of people. It would not make them want to go and watch the show.
It would definitely trigger some offensivity, as Don would say.
Well, and what's great about, it's a good show or a good movie if you're able to pull quotes and stuff for that type of soundboard, or
right.
You can quote things and it ends up with its own, slate of quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what, especially in the comedy world, that's like one of the things I measure really good on, like in my group of friends who we all love dumb comedies, but movies like Super Troopers is one of our all-time favorites. And
Super Troopers just kind of follows in that Letterkenny line.
Yeah, and think about how much you can quote from that movie, and it doesn't matter.
And I've only seen it once.
Oh my God, you need to watch it more.
Shenanigans.
It's just one of those things where we can quote that as a group, and that's what Letterkenny has turned into. And I actually watched a interview. With Jared, I watched an interview. It's a Canadian TV news station was interviewing him,
right, and
asking him about the slang, because that's what we're learning all this Canadian slang.
And he's got his beard kind of grown out, and his eyes are open.
Beard. Yeah. But he still looks baked out of his mind for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but it's you're learning all this slang, and they go through that with him, and he explains what everything means. Because if you're just watching the show, some of the stuff you can put together and figure out, but a lot of it, like Ferda, like what the hell, and
Ferda
I didn't quite get it, and then you watch that, and I'm like, oh, gotcha. Now that's like the most said thing amongst my friends that have watched the show. We'll just blurt it out all the time.
Yep. So let's before we get into this episode, we're going to do a little quick recap of the last episode, which is everybody's favorite episode.
So good.
Everybody loves Fart Book.
So you tricked me into still having to talk about Fart Book.
Well, it's going to be brief. So because now what's interesting about and quotable, this kind of goes to that. This particular episode that we're going into, episode 4, season 1, Wingman Wayne, not very quotable. But episode 3, Fart Book, had a lot of quotes from my own particular opinion. And I think Fart Book was really used to introduce the Skids, specifically,
that they were more than just meth heads.
Right, Stuart and Devin.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of building on that. I mean, it was just kind of, more slight character development more than story building.
So it's just one of those episodes where it
doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit at all. And I look at series and I like to see although if you think about it, let's think about one of the most popular animated series ever, and that's South Park. And up until the last 4 or 5 seasons, none of their episodes within one season ever flowed into the next one, ever. They were all they would look at what's going on in the world and they would make an episode based on that. And it was just recently they started actually flowing them together. So you had a build up throughout an entire season. And so it does work, but it was a weird, when I first watched Fart Book, obviously it was the first time I'd watched the series, and I went, God, I hope this isn't what this show I hope this isn't what the direction that it's going, because it's like 1 and 2 were so great, and then 3 you're like, what?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, and actually, kind of going into this one, there's a little bit more of that with Riley and Jonesy. Mm-hmm. So so there's buildup of character. I think that's really kind of what they're focusing on. A little bit of story, but mostly character development. So you're kind of, you get invested in these guys.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what a lot of that is. So I don't think we really need to cover Fart Book anymore, because there's really nothing else in it aside from the quote about kids falling off bikes, which does play a role later on in the series as a whole. So getting to this episode, season 1, episode 4, Wingman Wayne. We start off, we're in Modine's with the boys and Gail all at the bar. And Gail is put down a bet of whoever gets the most tail.
Whoever gets it first.
Is it the first?
That's how it started.
Okay. Whoever gets laid first gets,
because all the college girls are coming into town.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so they're talking about they're all horny and they got the spring fever. So and it starts off with Squirrely Dan saying,
"It's been so long since I've had a pair of tits in my hands. I popped a lap rocket opening up a can of tuna last Sunday morning." which then plays a little bit more later when they're talking about, Gail says, "Here's a tip: hang out with Wayne because he's the one who's drawing all the pussy." Yep. It will up your game a bit. Wayne says, "Don't fart in a spacesuit." I can't remember what Derry says, but then of course we have to get back to the tuna with Squirrely Dan and saying, "Here's a tip: it's really hard to get tuna out of your dick hole."
Yeah,
Squirrely Dan's my favorite.
Yeah. And that's one of the amazing things about the show is that in that moment they're talking about make it, her putting the $50 down.
Right.
They're talking about getting tail.
Right.
And out of nowhere, they just go into this little bit of, here's a tip. and they go off on this like side tangent.
Right.
But they're still able to wrap it around, and you're laughing the whole time at what they're talking about, and just the way they deliver it.
Oh yeah.
That's so just amazing to me.
and then the callback to the yeah. Go ahead, T.
No, I was just gonna say Wayne's reaction when Gail starts flirting with him.
Oh God! It's just his little like under his breath, like
okay,
just like no,
like blinking.
Yeah,
I love the blinking.
I believe that's where my wife first looked at me and said, "What is this crap?" And I'm like, "That's Gail. She's Gail.
She's
Gail. Like she's unique. She's different.
Definitely.
What was it? Alabama? What?
Alabama Hot Pocket.
Yeah.
Oh
don't look it up if you haven't listened to episode 2.
Open your cheeks and I will force feed you.
2?
Yeah, that was the fart book when she was
Yeah.
getting suspended.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So from Modine's, we then go to the ice rink with Riley and Jonesy, who are at practice, and they're bothered that Katie doesn't come because there's the Snipes there, the good looking hockey groupies, but Katie's not there. She used to come. They're complaining about why that didn't happen, why she doesn't come, and so they decide that they're going to have to go talk to her about it. But then we get back to we're back in the kitchen. So this is like I said, this is a very odd episode in the way that it lays out. So
it bounces around a lot.
So we go to Modine's. Then the next day is ice rink, and then we're back at the farm at the kitchen with the main crew, and they're talking about the funniest bit of that is the belt discussion.
Yep.
You guys gonna wear some belts?
No, I wear pants that fit. So I got a skate lace.
I'm surprised you didn't have that on your little board there.
It was, they were humorous, but not something that just really kind of busted me up. So
why pay $25 for a belt when I have a perfectly good skate lace at home?
Yeah. So I almost
remember
did.
it.
I know. It's just like I said. This one to me to me.
See, that was me with episode 3. Where
Yeah.
I'm just like, nothing was really great for me, and you're just like, no, this one. I liked this one.
It wasn't it wasn't one of those episodes where you remember it as a really good one during the season, but just like Fart Book, it becomes you've got 2 major storylines happening. You've got Riley and Jonesy and what they're going through,
right?
And you get that whole thing of like them playing off each other and more than just what you've seen already.
Right.
And then you've got on the other side, you've got Wayne and how he is with the ladies, and how you really find out actually how much of a pussy both Darian and Squirrely Dan are, because they have opportunities. They've got girls that are
scared.
looking at them. And they're so scared. They're like, no, we'll do something after drinks. And it's
Just have
like,
a shot.
I haven't even gotten to that part yet, though.
you're getting all the pointers in the world, but you're like, well, I'll do that after we get some more drinks.
Right. So so we're back at
up a little, yeah.
we're going to back up a little bit. So
Yeah,
the boys, Riley and Jonesy show up at the end of the laneway.
Still don't drive down the driveway yet.
And,
Yep, don't drive down the driveway.
and then Katie comes out. They ask her, why aren't you coming? And she goes, because you guys are dog shit. Well, we're not dog shit. The rest of the boys. Oh, is that why you're not getting to play and they are? Is that how that works? Maybe she's onto something here. Yeah, that's how that works.
Okay.
Yeah. So boys decide we're going to go talk to the coach. And this is where we get introduced. The coach played by Mark Forward. Actually, you know what? And I don't even know what the coach is. I know what his real name is, Mark Forward.
I don't know if I just know him as
That's a good
coach.
choice.
Right.
Yeah.
This is fucking embarrassing. But yeah, he's so they go talk to him. They tell him, he tells them, well, you got to fucking work, boys. You're just posers. And they're limited brains. So what you're saying is we're here and we need to get here.
Mark Forward is listed as coach.
Coach. So he's just coach. All right. And I follow him on Twitter. He's great on Twitter. I like him, and I follow pretty much all of them. That if they have a Twitter account, I follow them. So you can follow us on How Are You Now Pod on Twitter if you want, just to say. But anyway, so they decide they're going to start working, and they go through their whole riff about what they're going to do. Then we're back at Modine's again that night. Squirrely Dan is telling Derry about, and that's why you never give a sword to a hooker.
Because she cut off her balls?
Right. Yeah. So, and they have a discussion about gender, and I think, and it's,
I do like that Squirrely Dan was very much her.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah.
Like he was this
and-
isn't a phobic story.
Right.
This is a story that happened. This is a scary story that happened.
So yeah, and then they talked about there's the girl there who is the sister of Boots.
Yes.
and that's when Gail brings up,
Guys, ever hear anything about that guy fucking an ostrich?
No. The ginger fucked an ostrich.
so the reference back to the
No.
ginger and Boots are an ongoing thing within this series, and the ostrich fucking, and how many people it takes
Allegedly.
how many alleged people it takes to allegedly fuck an alleged ostrich. So and
what's so funny about that exchange is that Gail's like, she knows it takes three. It takes three to fuck an ostrich.
Yeah, it takes at least 3.
Yeah, and she knows that.
I wonder if
she keeps like bringing it back up, like, but it takes like at least 3 people.
You're right.
this. Well, I know that we're going to get into theories later, but
Oh, Gail.
I
Gail
wonder-
has all the sex. I mean, she knows all of the sex stuff.
But here's the ginger Boots. Maybe she was number 3.
Maybe. Oh, damn.
So
I didn't think about that one.
So then the Boots sister is over there giving the hair show. And
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
To Derry, and so he's telling, well, when they give you the hair show, that means they might like you to touch their hair.
How does their hair look up and down? How does
Right.
it frame their face?
Right. So yeah.
But don't start with the touching.
No, right?
Right. So yeah. So how does Wayne know this?
Yeah, I was asking that during the episode. He was in this 5-year-long relationship, and he's been out of it not long enough that he feels ready to move on.
Right.
And it started in high school. Like, how does he know all of this stuff? Did she tell him this? Did he hang around with her and her friends all the time? Like, he knows a lot about girls flirting for someone who's been in one relationship.
Right.
So.
Right. And so then we jump again. We're back to the shower at the ice rink where Riley and Jonesy are talking about their workout, and they decided that there's a whole riff, and how you keep up with them, it's fucking impossible.
It's impossible. Like,
even
you
with
lose
the
it
subtitles.
halfway through that. You're just it just all blends together.
Even with the subtitles
you start having
on,
a mini stroke yourself, and you're just like, what is happening here? But it's like your first major, like those two just like hardcore riffing back and forth, and it's insane. And it's not their only one in the episode, but you're just like, good God.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, they're in the stands doing it. Mm-hmm. They're in the shower doing it, and then in the shower is Shorzy, who's getting the ass wash. This is the best way to get your ass washed, boys.
Handstand in the shower.
and if you don't notice, Shorzy's voice is done by Jared Keeso.
Oh, that's 100%. Yeah, it's literally
because
him.
you never see his face.
So wait, I got to break in with this because you asked me a very important question while we were watching this part of the episode.
Hey, let's ask Brian first.
All right. So Brian, you see Jonesy, Shorzy, and Riley in the shower. Who's got the best butt? It's a very important question.
You know what? Honestly, I wasn't paying attention to that part to rate those, which I now feel kind of ashamed. I probably should.
Yeah, you have to go back.
I'll have to go back and rewatch that. I did find it kind of weird that they're talking about how they have to work out and get stronger, yet they're pretty damn like they're it's not like they're not fit. Like they're pretty damn fit, and you're like, okay, so you guys need to do more work. That part I didn't quite understand, but I'll go back.
I mean, like if you were,
I think it's that they've gotten soft, that they've stopped working out as much. They're eating junk food, that sort of thing. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the correct answer to my question was Jonesy.
I said Jonesy as well.
All right, I'll have to go back and take a look.
So we're the ass wash. If I don't recommend you try that at home.
Yeah, no, it's probably not very safe.
It's probably not very safe.
And definitely not in a locker room. It is not sanitary for your hands.
Right?
No. Maybe if you put flip flops on your hands. Maybe. And also, and I think this is because they're in the first 3 episodes. This is the first where we find Shorzy.
I think they mention him before, like in hockey scenes. They'll be like, "Nice shot, Shorzy," or "Fuck you, Shorzy," without it, being much. So and then this was the first time we see him.
Yeah, this is the first time we actually meet him or hear him. So yeah, that's so Shorzy. Yeah, because they're out there doing the practice and.
Give your balls a tug, you tit fucker.
So I think that's the very first time we hear Shorzy in there. Mm-hmm. So then we go back to Modine's again, and Gail again. We're starting off actually with McMurray and Wayne chatting at the Big Buck Hunter. And McMurray giving him the lowdown on everything about Angie's boyfriend and how McMurray knows all this fashion, and because he goes into detail about the fashion and the color palettes and all kinds of shit that you wouldn't expect a guy like McMurray to know.
Well, but McMurray is such a unknown. Like, you think you kind of know what kind of dude he is, but you really don't know what kind of dude he is. Like, he's so weird.
He is so very weird.
It just doesn't surprise me that they would like add that little element to his character, like, because it doesn't make any sense that he would, but why not? I mean, that's the kind of show that it is, so why not just add that in? And he's definitely. I always have a hard time. I like his character, but he's kind of up there in my weird on my.
He makes you feel uncomfortable.
he does make you feel really uncomfortable. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's his giant upper lip that looks like it should have facial hair on it, but it doesn't. And or if it's the way that I don't know. But I mean, amazing job creating such a weirdo for a character. But yeah, he does that's perfect. It does make you very uncomfortable, and that's what it is.
Yeah, he is just not someone I wouldn't feel comfortable. I would just feel really. I would need a shower.
Well, I think at this point in what we know about McMurray, let's not get ahead of ourselves on that.
True.
But at this point, we just know that he's very odd, and really, really likes to tell Wayne uncomfortable things, and.
At uncomfortable times.
At uncomfortable times,
why
right?
Why does he feel like it's his job to update him on what's going on with his ex-girlfriend? Because he does that in the first episode, right? And then and so now he's doing it again, and it's like, why is it are you just keeping an eye on her, or why do you know all this stuff and then feel like it's your job to then relay that to Wayne? Why?
Totally. Yeah, and then more. Then Wayne goes back to the bar, and Gail starts flirting with him again with the.
Hey, Wayne, how many planets are there?
With the whole Pluto debate, well, give or take 8 planets.
It'll only be 7 after I destroy your anus.
I love Gail.
Gail,
yes.
Gail, that's when I got another look from the wife.
Gail,
come on, Gail talks like how everyone thinks that a guy should talk. Like, she just doesn't care. She's gonna tell you everything she wants to tell you.
Yeah, but because if you think about it, because then they're looking at the other girls over there, and I don't remember who it was that Squirrely Dan was looking at, but he says,
right.
Christ, I would snort her dandruff.
Dandruff is a fungus. I think he'd mean you'd sniffer flakes.
And you are giving me far too much credit, my boy.
Schneefer flakes, snorter dandruff.
You get so many new sayings or what's the word I'm looking for? You get so many like different descriptive ways of describing actions. So like Gail, especially like Gail, the way she can just roll through different ways of talking about just different sex things. And she can just and you're just and they take a second and then you get it and you're just like and it's just amazing that they do that and just like
well, like Derry in the opening of the episode where they're sitting in the bar and which she says basically something that alludes to them going home and masturbating alone.
Yeah, firing off wristers.
Firing off wristers, and Derry's like, huh?
Firing what? And he goes, oh.
And in every episode, you're getting stuff like that where you're just like, you get all basically what I like is we're literally getting a whole new vocabulary. And I said that already, but you're getting a whole nother vocabulary, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so because like there's another phrase that I'm about to talk about because then we get back to the skate rink where Riley and Jonesy they're talking about their workout, and then Katie shows up and they're
Snipe.
The new phrase is
Wheel snipe Sally, boys.
Wheel snipe Sellies. And I had to look that up. So basically it's kind of like, I guess it's like your basketball terms, I guess it would be like a fast break. So you skate fast, you make your shot, you snipe the shot, and then you celebrate. Wheels, fast, snipe, shoot, Selly, celebrate. So that's
Jesus, and that's all it is too. Is like all we're doing is shortening up words.
Oh yeah, Sandos and
God,
Sandos. Well, except for nappies,
right?
They made nappies long. They made naps longer by saying nappies.
Right.
So some of it doesn't quite make sense. They're going to work out in front of Katie. She says, "Take your shirts off," because she wants to work out with their shirts off. That's where the wheels, and after that, the wheel snipe sells.
Oh, and the ninja dust.
Oh yeah,
ninja dust. The ninja dust. It's so cute. Jesus,
damn
fucking
ninja
so
dust.
Cute. I don't even like the
they
first
did that
time
in the arena, and they do it and then run away from her, and and then they're out. That's just
because they're like 12-year-old.
They are. They're like doing that salt meme shit with his arm. I can't even fucking do it, but it's like they're speaking in memes as well.
Oh yeah,
like that's.
I like that they were up there like eating just cheeseburgers or whatever. And she's
I think
like,
big grinders.
Happened?
Yep.
Yeah.
Grinders
and
while
they're
watching
like,
tape.
it's cheat day. And it just, yeah. They were watching film, though.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, yeah.
They hate leg day, though.
Oh,
that comes
gotta
back.
skip leg day.
That comes back to it.
That made me laugh.
Let's skip
That
leg
made me
day.
laugh the hardest in the shower scene.
Right.
Yep.
When they were like, "What about legs?" Like, I hate doing legs.
We'll skip leg day.
And that just it instantly made me think of all those funny pictures online of people who have skipped leg day, and their upper bodies. Yeah, upper bodies are so gigantic, and then you get down to these little chicken legs, and it was the first thing I pictured, and that's just so damn funny.
God. I would love to watch them rehearse that stuff that they do back and forth, because it's got to be next to impossible. But yeah, it's freaking hilarious. So then back at Modine's, Wayne meets Jessica, who comes up and asking where the bathroom is. And then he teaches about the big eyes. And
Yep.
Yeah. I totally do the big eyes.
Tiara does the big eyes.
Totally do the big eyes.
She is a big eyes flirter.
Absolutely.
Oh yes.
Fantastic.
And then Gail gives the
She's so hot, I'd check off her dad just to see where she came from.
I am stealing that. I am fucking saying that everywhere except for work, because
oh boy, yeah. But yeah, he starts to go back there, and then hanging next to the bathroom door is the work schedule at the bar, and whose name is in perfectly legible black ink, aside from everybody else who's in blue.
Mm-hmm. Much lighter and yeah. Angie,
the ex.
As he's about to walk in the bathroom to get laid for the first time since breaking up with this woman, and I'm like, yeah.
And that girl did have a nice butt.
Mm-hmm.
Gail mentioned that.
Oh yeah,
yeah, she has a nice butt.
Like, you didn't actually notice the first time we watched through. Well, actually, it was probably like third or fourth time, and I was like, you see what he's looking at there, and you're like, what? And I was like, go back and rewind it. It's Angie, and he's like, what? Yeah, her name was on there, and you did not catch it until the third or fourth time watching. So that was cool.
Yeah,
I like things like that.
Yeah. So little bit of the story development, a lot more character on this. So that's the end of that scene. We go back to the ice rink, game day, and the boys are getting to play, but Katie's in the stands. And Shorzy and the other hockey player, we don't know his name,
Schmaltz.
are talking about
Schmeltz. Schmeltz.
About dibs on the digis.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, getting the digis.
I called dibs on those digis while you were out there shooting at the blue line, and it's yeah. So that made them feel uncomfortable. They wanted her to come, but then
they didn't want anyone else to look at her.
Right.
Yeah, sense some jealousy there for sure.
They are just not with it. They meet up again at Modine's later, and they kind of say, "You're a distraction," and but we really like you, but you're a distraction. She goes, "Oh well, I guess I'll just have to get one of your teammates to dibs my digis." But we dibs those digis. And so yeah, that's and then
So it comes down to nobody got laid in this episode,
right? And so and Gail is trying all the way to the very end.
Man, Gail,
At the very end,
somebody fuck her.
I may not go down in history, but I'll go down on you.
Best lines.
Yes, Gail. I love Gail. And,
Get it, girl.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so who. So let's see your reactions overall, Brian.
Like I said, it wasn't one of those like super memorable episodes, but it was just like Fart Book was. It was better than Fart Book, but it's designed to give you more character development. You're 4 episodes into the season. You're learning who these people are. You get a little glimpse into, just even subtly, into what kind of guys Derry and Squirrely Dan are, and how they have a little bit of confidence issues, and they're a little nervous, and talking to girls kind of freaks them out, and they need help in that. And then even though, like you said, you're not sure how Wayne has all this knowledge, he has a ton of knowledge. And then you see, obviously, he is still dealing with the breakup, and he can't quite get over that. And you're just like in a lot of American sitcoms or comedies, you're in the first several episodes, you're learning the characters and getting to know who they are, and,
right.
and even McMurray being in there and seeing a little bit more of him, and I think I liked the part I liked the best about it was focusing on the hockey players, in getting to know them a little bit more and letting them shine, because those two together, as the season goes on, they just get better and better.
Right.
And the way that they play off each other is the main group is great, but those two, they're pretty damn funny.
They are. Yeah. I think they're kind of like the Stewart and Devon, the versus, those two opposing each other, the yin and yang between the Skids and the hockey players. They both have each other's backs. They're always together, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I like a lot of that, how they juxtapose the characters in each group.
Well, and that's what you're doing. You're learning about not only the characters themselves, you're learning about their groups, because it's like we're watching a show that's basically, this town has all the groups you had in high school, and and so you're learning about the hockey, the jocks, and then you're learning about the Skids, and then we haven't even met some other groups that'll come in later, and then as we get on, of course, all these groups start intertwining, and you don't even know there's any connection between hockey and the Skids, and then you find that out later, and how much they don't like each other, and just all this other stuff, and so you're learning about individual characters, but you're also learning about the groups and what they're about
and how they interact. Because in this episode, there's no Skids, there's no Christians, there's no Pastor Glenn.
Nope.
It's just the hockey players and the Hicks.
Which is a bummer, because Pastor Glenn is fantastic.
He probably spent most of his time writing this.
Yeah,
because he and Kiso write and create this, and he actually, I think TR found that he's won a couple of awards for writing of this. So big
you just and when you watch interviews with him, you can tell that he has more fun playing that character.
Oh, I bet.
Than he's probably that he probably has ever had in his entire life in that business, and he does such an amazing job at it. I love that character.
Yeah, and he's great. I mean, there's so many great characters, and I'm looking forward to covering more of them as we move along. So in this one, so wheel snipe Selly, that's a new term or phrase. Were there any other ones that we learned in this one?
I think so.
There was no Alabama Hot Pocket in this one.
I mean, Gail had some pretty good ones, but none of them.
Yeah,
except
none of them.
I did.
Well, I mean, did we already
Dust.
hear earlier in the? I mean, Snipes is a big deal, but
Snipes has been said before.
Has it been said before? I couldn't remember.
Ninja Dust.
So Ninja Dust actually has an entry in Urban Dictionary: the act of stealthily and unceremoniously leaving before expected, without other parties realizing until one has already departed. So basically, they just disappeared. They dusted.
Right. That's what I figured that meant, because that's what ninjas do. They throw their dust down and they disappear. So, but I don't know if and I'm kind of looking for, like, the wheel snipe Sally sounds very Canadian and whatnot. So to me, it's very interesting. So, theories of what any theories you have, Brian?
I don't really have any at this point in the season. Any crazy theories. I'm still I'm super curious. I want to know, not just because she's hot, but I want to know more about Katie, and I want to know why. I want to know why she is the way she is, and like you guys said in earlier episodes, why do they live in that situation the way they live? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense. But I want to know more about her, because we're starting to learn about everybody, but all we know about her is, she's just kind of flirts a bunch and does whatever the hell she wants.
Has two boyfriends and doesn't wear a lot of clothes.
Doesn't wear a lot of clothes, which is totally fine.
Yes, totally.
Right.
Totally
absolutely
okay with that.
Jesus
I wish she would.
That's my forte.
Wear less. she could wear less, and it would be fine.
I wish she were naked.
But I'd like to know more about her. But theories wise, it's not it was one of those episodes. Like I said, one of those episodes that's kind of hard to
to theorize,
get any of those off of, because all you're just learning. You're just still trying to figure out what this show is and who these characters are and all that.
Right.
Did I miss? Like, have I?
No.
Was it?
No.
Is there a theory you have?
No,
that I missed.
he likes to ask that at every.
I'm just kind of curious about what people think about, at this point in time. What are your thoughts of, like if you think about McMurray, because he's so weird. I mean, you could come up with a lot of really weird arcing theories. I mean, granted, we know a lot more about him now because we've seen more. But if looking at that time, he's just a really odd character.
Yep.
And so you could come up with a jillion theories about, he's always wearing tight shirts. He knows lots about color palettes and fashion and
seems to see Angie's new boyfriend a lot of places.
Yeah.
And pay attention to everything down to the decals on the new used car that he just bought.
Yep.
So yeah, he's very attention to detail.
Very.
So he's a very interesting character. I mean, theories about Gail and how she is the way she is, and there's so many things that you could. There's so many things that you could come up with that would just be just as plausible as the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's hard when you've already watched, all of the first 2 seasons and a little bit of 3. Like, it's hard to. I'm sure I had weird thoughts and theories back when I first watched this episode, but even now, rewatching it last night, I don't have any because I know what happens, and that kind of makes it difficult.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure that after I watched it the first time, I sat there just like my wife did, and even though I thought it was funny, I had a big old "what the fuck" on my face.
Oh yeah, I very well remember the "what the fuck" face every episode
Right? Yeah.
when we first started watching it. Like, why do I like this? What the hell?
On this one, anything stood out or surprised you?
I was a little bit surprised at how much of a pussy like Derry was. I thought that he'd be Squirrely Dan doesn't surprise me at all. That makes perfect sense, and I love that for his character.
See, I'm kind of backwards on that. I figured Squirrely Dan would be the one who would have a little more oomph to his his prowess.
He seems so nervous. Like when you go forward in there,
I think he's nervous just around Katie because of Wayne.
Right.
Oh, I think that I love that. Move forward into.
No.
Too forward.
Nope.
Yeah, well,
we're not moving
when they're
forward,
throwing the baseball around.
Yes.
And he's talking about his date.
You
get more right there.
Absolutely.
Where you're like, you get a little more insight. He doesn't want to talk about it, and he's very private.
Well, I think
Derry is even more though.
But
he would get a boner at O Canada. Like, he's so awkward.
I think Dan is just trying to see. He goes, he's into it. I think he's afraid.
He's like, are other people?
He
is
knows
this an
that
okay
Derry
thing?
and Wayne are very awkward about that kind of stuff, and he wants to kind of judge.
He wants to talk with his friends too.
Oh no,
exactly.
he definitely has a weird hidden kinky side that he doesn't want. That he knows his other 2 friends are obviously not into. And yeah, so I mean that's 100%. But I think I was surprised that Derry was so nervous and not. I think I felt he was more of a wingman to those to Wayne. Like, it was those 2 like partners in crime when it comes to doing that. But he's actually not. At least in that episode, he's a giant pussy. He can't freaking go out there and talk to the girl. And you get all the pointers from this guy that you trust, and yet you're like, nope. Well, maybe I'll do that after a couple more drinks. And I think that surprised me a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but going to the kinky thing, do you think Squirrely Dan has a ball gag?
That would not shock me. It would not shock me if Squirrely Dan had like a room.
Yeah,
like a whole, like he'd be in like all that type of stuff. He's probably got the whips. He's got it all. I wouldn't be surprised. And maybe it isn't yet, but like as his character moves on, like you go back to them throwing the ball around, and he's talking about like about playing with my buttholes, and he's like, maybe that's the beginning of it, and these girls that he's with make him into Mr. Kinky, because he seems to
he's discovering himself.
Yeah, exactly. He seemed to really enjoy it. So I don't know.
Yeah. So all right. So usually I have this one part where I ask who you would fight, but I've kind of modified that.
Each episode.
So it was fuck, fight, or fart on. That was last episode. This one, because we've got the hockey players. It's fuck, fight, or Ferda. So we're gonna go through the characters that were in this episode. I'm gonna ask each of you fuck, fight, or Ferda.
Guess which one I pick a lot.
Sometimes fucking fight mean the same thing to you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So we're gonna start with the Hicks crew. So Brian, Wayne.
Oh man, well he's the toughest guy in Letterkenny, so you don't want to fight that guy. Ferda, man.
Ferda.
Yeah, Ferda.
I already said I'd fuck Wayne. That has not changed.
All right, Derry.
Although he'd be really uncomfortable, I think. He's very stiff.
Yes.
Anyway, Derry.
Derry.
Yeah. God damn.
Based on this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ferda.
Yeah, Ferda.
All right.
You didn't do it for me in this one.
Squirrely Dan.
Squirrely Dan's my hero. He is. I feel so bad. I had the overalls and everything. He was going to be who I dressed up as for Andrew's
party.
For Andrew's party, and I got so sick and I couldn't go.
Oh no!
That's because I have the big red beard already, and all I needed was like a trucker hat and the overalls, and I could do it.
Yep.
And I was so mad. So he's my hero. So definitely like Ferda.
Are you guys gonna fucking cosplay this at like PodCon time? Like, what's happening here?
I think we probably should.
Because he's fucking Derry.
I've got the Derry coveralls. So, all right. So then we got Gail.
Mm-hmm. God, I am not attracted to her in any way, but God, I would fuck her just to like be able to say that I fuck Gail.
She did.
I'm
this
right
and
there.
this
Like
and this.
I'm not attracted to her one bit. But I want to. I'd fuck her because I want to know how kinky she really is.
Yeah.
Like you probably would never be, if she really is that. It would be an experience of a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
So you got to do it.
Definitely.
I'll pop a pill if I have to. I don't give a fuck.
That's right.
Just to do the experience.
That's
I got to
right.
do it.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Katie, of course.
Oh, I mean. Fuck, a million times over.
Right.
Riley and Jonesy are always a package deal.
See,
they're
that's the
always
thing.
a package deal.
Gotta have those together. I want to fight those motherfuckers.
You want to fight them both at the same time?
Them at the same time.
I don't know. Jonesy had a really nice ass, so.
All right. So then, McMurray.
Oh God,
fuck that guy. Not to fuck him.
McMurray, I'd fight too because that dude. Yeah.
I don't even. Yeah. No.
Punch him in his giant upper lip.
Coach.
He didn't really. He wasn't really much in it. Like
he wasn't in it much.
He really only said it like what 2 things.
Yeah.
And he didn't even have his signature line yet.
No,
right?
So fucking embarrassing.
That doesn't happen until they start playing.
How about Shorzy?
Or kick a garbage can over or any of that stuff.
Shorzy.
I want to fight Shorzy for his fucking mouth, even though I know who plays him. Fight him.
Yeah, well, because he's Shorzy. He's not Wayne.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. He's a douche, and so I don't really want to fuck him, but I don't necessarily want to fight him. So I guess Ferda.
Okay.
Real clean ass.
Yeah,
yes, very clean ass.
He has the cleanest
super
ass.
Super clean. Yeah.
So 2 things: unanswered questions, and final thoughts. You have any?
No.
No. No.
I don't really have it. I don't have any unanswered questions. I mean, I still want to know more about, the relation, him and Angie.
Yeah.
What happened there, and obviously it's scarred him to a point where he can't even go have fun with a girl in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Months after they've broken up.
To get over Angie, but,
right?
I mean, he can't.
Right.
So I still, at that point, I was still wondering, because you didn't know much. You just know he has this ex, and
That fucked him up.
And so I want to know why and what happened and what's going on there.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my biggest unanswered question.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on this after this episode? Just
ready for more.
Ready for more. Yeah.
Even though the episodes were kind of slow to start, and again, you're having this one where it's not fully loaded with a super memorable episode. You still, I binge watched. I couldn't stop. It wasn't like it was bad. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to stop here. It's like, nope, I got to know what happens next. And I got to get more sayings, and I got to get more quotes. And you just kept going. So even though it was an amazing episode, it was a good one.
It was. Yeah, it was. And it definitely leaves you wanting more. It doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't detract at all. So yeah, it was a very good episode. So yeah, I am looking forward to the next one, which is the rave.
Yes, I liked the rave.
And that right there, you want to talk about character development. It goes the same thing.
Oh yeah,
rave is a much better episode than this one.
And story development, because you get. I think you're building, because you've kind of built Stuart and a little bit of Katie, but now you're building Stuart and Katie. So I'm not going to get into that too much, but yeah, there's definitely
tune in next week.
Yeah. So yeah, we're really looking forward to getting that one in the can and really building on this, because I think really episode 5 I think is kind of where it really starts to take off on the whole.
Agreed.
Yep. Well, and anything with Stuart, his character. There's something about his character that I don't know what it is. It's just like you kind of feel for the guy, and he kind of brings that out in you a little bit. You kind of you feel for him a little bit.
It definitely.
And so anything that most of the episodes that he's in are ones that I really, really like, especially when you watch interviews or watch anything with the actor himself, and he's nothing like like Stuart. He does such a good job playing such a unique character.
Yeah, Stuart is. He was great in Supernatural. I loved him in Supernatural too, because I'm a Supernatural fan. So yeah, he was great in that. So Tyler Johnston is, for me. I mean, when I saw him and I figured out who he was, I was like, oh my god, I love this guy. So yeah, it was really cool having him in there. So I'm looking forward to getting more with him. And I'd love to interview him, because he seems a really
get him
awesome
on the
dude.
show.
So I'll reach out to him, and we'll see what happens. So who knows? It'll be fun. I think he seems like a decent dude. So, but they say never meet your heroes, but
right, exactly.
So, but I'm sure he's perfectly fine. He's Canadian, so he's got to be good. So they're all nice. So all right, so let's wrap this up. Brian, we appreciate having you here. We appreciate that about you. And
is that what you appreciate about me?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Brian's hot. I don't regret anything.
Too fat to run.
Oh
man.
Dan, I love him.
Yeah. All right, so Brian, thank you so much for being on, and we will have you on again. When you are ready, you got to give us some more your favorite episode, if you can, for in future seasons. We'll have you back on again, and we'll chat about that. Because
awesome, I need to get caught up. I'm only like 3 episodes into season 3 now that it's finally available.
Oh God!
Man, hammer down,
dude.
I'm sorry.
Fucking 10-ply, bud.
Oh
even
God,
my sister
figured out. I'm sorry. I just I got a new baby.
Even my sister has been able to watch more than that.
Oh, Brian. So again, Brian McLaughlin from Common Ground Football Podcast, No Subject Podcast, and he's what's your Twitter if you want to.
I am at Wenatchee Seattle Sports Fan, and then of course the podcasts are at Common Ground FBP and at No Subject Podcast. I think is what that one is.
So I'll get those in the show notes so that people can reach out to you and find out more about you.
Sweet.
All right.
Always looking for our 17th and 18th listeners. So
you'll get there one of these days.
One day. But thanks for having me, guys. I loved it. It's so much fun.
Of course. Thank you for being on.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon,
guys.
man.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to this episode of How Are You Now? Find us on podscure.com/HowAreYouNowPodcast or wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on Twitter and Facebook at How Are You Now Pod. Also, a big thank you to our good friend Jack Rainwater from Hard Money Saints for our intro and outro music. Check them out on Reverb Nation for deets and schedules. Take care.